Today we will talk about enterprise architecture tools. This is a topic that I have always avoided talking about because one, I do not have access to tools, and two, I don't know why I have avoided it really. I've always talked about frameworks and how to implement enterprise architecture in the practical context and so on, but somehow I have always avoided talking about tools. So today I decided that let's cover this. I have worked with enterprise architecture tools in the past. I don't work with them now, but it's a subject of curiosity for a lot of my viewers. Today we'll talk about what enterprise architecture tools are, what's their function, and why they are absolutely quintessential for anyone to do enterprise architecture. And then we'll move on to 5 tools which are in the top enterprise architecture tools in the Gartner Quadrant, and what are the capabilities that they offer, and what are their pros and cons basically. But before we start off with enterprise architecture tools, I'd like to remind you that if you're enjoying the videos that I'm publishing, then let YouTube know, like, share and subscribe, and comment. I want to hear what topics you would like to hear. I want to hear how you like the videos or don't like the videos. If there are problems, I did hear someone tell me that the volume in my videos is not very good. Now, I haven't experienced it myself. I'm looking at the videos myself on my phone and on my laptop, and I feel that I hear myself quite well. But in case if other people are also experiencing a volume issue, please let me know and I'll see what I can do. So, enterprise architecture tools. First of all, what are they? Now, you have to understand that doing enterprise architecture without a tool is impossible. Yes, I said the word impossible. Impossible because an enterprise is a very big thing. It's a very big challenge, right? There are so many aspects to an enterprise. There is businesses, and there are technologies, and there are people, and there are processes, and there are products, and there is supply chain and marketing and so on and so forth. So being able to create a picture of the entire enterprise without a tool, I mean, when I say without a tool, I don't mean without any tools for that matter. Like a laptop is a tool, right? Visio is a tool. So there are free tools and diagramming tools available which can be used, but those are not enterprise architecture tools, all right? Without a proper tool, it's impossible, because if I tell you create a diagram about your enterprise, what would you do? You would create one aspect of the enterprise, but that doesn't represent the whole enterprise. So how do you it's like 4 blind men describing an elephant, right? One says the elephant looks like a pillar because he's touched the legs of the elephant. One says an elephant is like a rope because he's touched the tail. One says that an elephant is like a fan because he's touched the ears, and so on and so forth. One says that an elephant is like a wall because he's touched the body of the elephant, and so on. While none of them are right, some of them, all of them are partially right, right? So when we create a picture of an enterprise in a tool which is not an enterprise architecture tool, we get a perspective, we get an aspect of the enterprise. It might be accurate, but it's only accurate in a particular context. So enterprise architecture tools are necessary because they show you. It's like, one is, people assume that enterprise architects are just sitting around doing diagrams. So first of all, that's not true. Enterprise architects have a lot of skills that they need to acquire. There are technical skills like using tools and modeling and understanding technology and understanding business and understanding processes and so on and so forth. But there are also softer skills like negotiation skills, for example, or stakeholder management skills, or communication skills, or leadership skills, and so on and so forth. And there's a beautiful architecture capability framework within which there is a skills framework which I will present at some point in time in the future in some episode. But there are a ton of skills which are required by enterprise architects, and similarly the tool needs to be able to enable an enterprise architect to do all the things that they do, not just draw diagrams, right? So So what does an enterprise architecture repository or enterprise architecture tool do? First of all, it is an enterprise architecture repository. Okay, it stores all the information about the enterprise in the repository. It's a unified single repository where all information is stored. Now, usually an organization also has a CMDB. A CMDB is a configuration management database. ServiceNow is an excellent example of a CMDB. Now, the CMDB has a ton of information as well about the enterprise, like how many servers are there, or how many applications are there, how many projects are there, how many functions are there, which organization, which is the support function of a particular application or a project, and what is the cost of the project, or like budget management is a part of ServiceNow, and total cost of ownership of an application, or where are the servers, for example, that the applications are hosted in, or which data center or cloud, and so on, right? But it's not an enterprise architecture tool. It stores all that information, but it is still not an enterprise architecture tool because an enterprise architecture tool is not just a repository. It takes all this information and generates intelligence. So the whole point of an enterprise architecture repository is it needs to generate intelligence about the organization so that the leadership can take strategic decisions about the enterprise, in which direction we are going, or what should we do next, or where are the gaps and holes and leakages, or where are efficiencies required, and so on and so forth. So that is what enterprise architecture repository is, or enterprise architecture tool is. It helps us in getting information about the enterprise. It helps us in understanding the organization and representing the organization and creating intelligence around it. And that's the whole purpose of enterprise architecture as well, right? Understanding the organization and helping the leadership in taking strategic decisions about the future of the organization. So today what we are going to do is take a look at 5 tools from the Gartner Magic Quadrant and look at what each tool provides, or what functionality each tool provides, and the pros and cons of each tool essentially. The first tool that we are going to talk about is Orbusinfinity. Now, this is my favorite tool because I have used it for a very long time. Unfortunately, I have not used any other tools besides when I was doing a POC. So 15 years or so ago, I was working for a financial services company where I was an enterprise architect, and we set up an enterprise architecture capability. And at that time, that's about when I did my TOGAF certification. And that's the first few things, among the first few things that we were doing. One of the things was to pick a tool. Which enterprise architecture tool should we use to record information about the organization, and so on and so forth. So as a part of that activity, what we did was we ran a sort of tool evaluation POC kind of thing, right? We invited all the tool vendors, 3 or 4 tool vendors, I don't remember which ones at this point in time, but I ended up choosing Orbus Software at that time. So Orbus Software is the name of the organization. At that time, the tool was called iServer. I don't think it is called iServer anymore. It's called Orbusinfinity now, and we picked that particular tool for multiple reasons. One was the cost factor. Now, Orbus Software is not free or cheap. Okay, it's expensive, but the reason why it was cost effective back then was that the licensing was modular. So you could pick, let's say, development license, which means we are going to use that license to develop the enterprise architecture initially, right? And then there is a reporting license and a dashboarding license and so on and so forth. So as we expand our capability, we could invest more and more, and as we become more mature, we can buy the dashboarding license or the reporting license and so on and so forth. Now, I'm just giving you an example. I don't remember exactly how it was broken down at that point in time, and it may have changed now. So, because I've not used Orbus for a very long time, but it was modular. It gave a nice enterprise architecture repository. It was TOGAF implemented. So at that time, it was TOGAF 9.1, if I'm not wrong. And it was TOGAF 9.1 was implemented in the software. What that means is, if you want to implement TOGAF framework as your enterprise architecture framework in your organization, and if you want to use the tool, then the tool will have the TOGAF framework inside it. What that means is it will have, like for example, directories, which are according to the TOGAF frameworks architecture development method phases. So, there is a preliminary phase and an architecture vision phase and a business architecture, data architecture, application architecture, technology architecture phase, and then there are planning phases and there is implementation phases. And you can, as you go through the phases of the ADM, you will be doing design, you will be creating models, you will be creating architectural deliverables. All those deliverables can go into specific repositories, and there is guidance in the tool as well. So, for example, if you've started the architecture vision phase, and if you are using Orbus software at that time, iServer, you can go into the architecture vision phase directory, and you will find all the different architectural deliverables that you have to create in the architecture vision phase according to the TOGAF framework. So TOGAF framework recommends that you have to create an architecture vision document, an architecture definition document, you have to create and so on and so forth, the whole list. You find that entire list there, right, with templates. So for example, if I'm creating in business architecture, let's say I'm creating a business footprint diagram, right? So I don't know what a business footprint diagram looks like. I'm a new enterprise architect. I got TOGAF certified, but I don't remember what a business footprint diagram looks like. So there will be a business footprint diagram already in that directory. And then I double click on it and it shows me a template of what a business footprint diagram, an example business footprint diagram looks like. And then I can, so an enterprise architecture tool helps you that way. It enables you to implement the TOGAF framework. And it's not just Orbus software, okay? All enterprise architecture tools do that. They help you in enabling the enterprise architecture framework that you want to implement within your organization. So that was Orbus software. Now, one of the biggest benefits of Orbus software is it has deep integration with Microsoft technologies, right? So what are Microsoft technologies? First of all, Office. So if you want to create a diagram, for example, you can use Visio, and Visio is integrated with Orbus software. What that means is, let's say that you create a business footprint diagram, or let's say that you create a stakeholder diagram, right? You create those, stick figures in the Visio, and then you show how a stick figure uses an application and how that application, let's say it's an activity diagram, accesses a database, right? Now that stick figure is a user, for example, right? So that user is a live object, and you can, right click on it and save it into the architecture repository. It will go as a live object. You can name it as a business user, for example, or you can name it as CIO or what have you, and it goes into the repository as that particular, and you can reuse it in other places. So now you're using Visio. You are obviously, if you are an architect, then you know what Visio is in all probability, and you've used Visio for a long time. So you don't have to go and learn a new tool, right? You can do it in Visio. You can do it in PowerPoint. You can create a Excel sheet in which, let's say, you create a RACI matrix, right? Now that RACI matrix is live. So that same user, business user, could be a part of the RACI matrix, showing that he is responsible or accountable or consulted or informed or whatever. And, if you change one diagram, the RACI matrix changes accordingly, and so on and so forth. So Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Visio, you can use along with Orbus software. Also, other Microsoft technologies like Power BI. Power BI is also integrated, so now you can generate intelligent reports out of the architecture repository and show it to the stakeholders, to the leadership, right? So some very good benefits. Some of the downsides of Orbus software is that at this point in time, artificial intelligence capabilities in the tool are limited, and some people find it not very user-friendly from a technical standpoint. Like if they are not technical users, then they find it difficult to use. So that's one of the challenges. But otherwise, it's a good tool. Now, this was the first tool, and I explained to you everything. I'm not going to explain everything again and again for each tool, because most of the capabilities like the enterprise architecture repository and all of that is common to all good enterprise architecture tools. The next tool that we are going to talk about is LeanIX by SAP. So SAP has acquired LeanIX as an enterprise architecture tool, and you can implement that. It's cloud native. It has a very, very intuitive UI. So it's very easy and quick to learn. It is primarily focused towards application management. So it has a very strong suite on application management side. The deployment and integration of the tool is very quick because it integrates very tightly with the SAP system. And there is collaborative modeling and excellent lifecycle management, lifecycle tracking of applications, of tools, of hardware, and so on and so forth. The cons of this particular tool is it is very, very application management focused. So if you want to do deep enterprise architecture, you want to do deep modeling using Archimate or TOGAF or what have you, then it doesn't support that really well. You'll have to do a lot of customization in the tool to get to that. Now, SAP is doing a lot of work on the AI side. So, that benefit you get as a part of this tool. There is artificial intelligence recommended application rationalization in this tool. So that's very beneficial. If you're using this tool for application management or application side of enterprise architecture, then you get a lot of benefits using this tool. And then there is artificial intelligence also helps in automated dependency mapping and lifecycle alerts. So if something is going end of life, then you will get alerts around that this application is going end of life and so on, and you can upgrade it or change it or do application rationalization, what have you. So that is the benefit of pros and cons of LeanIX. The third tool that we have is Abacus by a company called Avolution. Now this is an excellent tool for deep enterprise architecture. It supports most of the enterprise architecture frameworks, over 100 frameworks it seems to claim. But definitely off the top of my head, TOGAF, Zachman, Pragmatic Enterprise Architecture Framework, BPMN, all these frameworks it supports. It also has a very strong enterprise architecture repository, and it has very good versioning and audit trails. So you create let's say a baseline architecture and target architecture. So you can version it and then move on, create a new one, baseline architecture, target architecture, all of that. It also shows audit trails as to how things have changed over a period of time. So that's a very, very strong suit of this particular tool. Analytics are exceptional. Reporting, dashboarding, all of this tool is really, really good that way. The learning curve, however, is a little steep. So it's a new type of tool. You will have to, take some trainings and learn how the tool needs to be used. So that's a little bit tricky. And the UI is not very modern, right? It's a little bit sort of outdated, and there's areas of improvement over there. Also, one area that this, and Orbus software as well actually for that matter, that it excels in is impact analysis. Impact analysis meaning, let's say that, to give you a very simple example, there is a server, and this server, you want to see if this server goes down, then what is the impact to the organization. So, considering that it has all the data, and all these tools, by the way, they hook up with your configuration management database and they can pull data on a regular basis. It's a very simple thing to do. So since it has all the data from the configuration management database, it can generate reports on the impact of every asset. So let's say there is a server and it goes out, how many people are using it, how many applications are dependent on it, how many other servers are dependent on it, what is the, and so on and so forth. So it basically creates exceptional impact analysis using artificial intelligence. So this is an AI capability that it has. And all the dashboards that it creates, like I said earlier, the visualization and the analytics that this tool generates is really good. This is all machine learning powered. So as it learns and as you start using the dashboard, things that you require, it learns and it updates itself, and so it's machine learning powered analytics, machine learning powered reporting, and exceptional impact analysis reports. The fourth tool that I want to talk about is Ardoq. It's a tool, and the company name is also Ardoq, if I'm not mistaken. Now, most of the capabilities of all other tools are there as a part of this, but where this tool excels is, one, it supports real-time collaboration and stakeholder engagement. So I haven't used this tool, but I'm very, very curious about this tool. I want to understand how it does that. So I'm assuming it is something like Microsoft Loop, if you have used the tool, which enables collaborative work. So people can talk and people can, post about what they've done, and they can show their work. They can collaboratively work on a single document and so on and so forth. But it should be interesting to see what this tool enables when it comes to real-time stakeholder engagement. So other capabilities are similar. It has a robust architecture repository for for live documentation and and modeling. It has graph-based modeling. And one more thing that this tool is really good at is agile enterprise architecture development. So if you are an old organization where you are doing, there's a lot of hierarchy and a bureaucracy, then this tool is not the best for you. This is one of the downsides of this tool. It doesn't do traditional enterprise architecture, all right? It focuses more on enterprise architecture in an agile mode. So that's one of the downsides if you are a traditional enterprise architecture organization. As far as AI capabilities go, this tool supports natural language processing and you can query in normal English, and it will give you, it will generate reports for you and give you answers based on the information that it already has. So that's one of the, I think it's an exceptionally good tool. One of the biggest downsides of this particular tool is it has limited GRC capabilities. GRC is government risk and compliance, right? It doesn't support enterprise architecture from a governance, risk and compliance standpoint. I don't think it doesn't support it at all. It's just that it's an area of development for this tool. And then the last but not the least is Bizzdesign. Now there were three tools: Bizzdesign, Mega, and Alphabet. Right? Mega is what used to be the name of the company. Mega Hopex. Hopex was the name of the tool, and Alphabet. So these are three tools that were there, and Alphabet was a very limited tool with just modeling capabilities. Bizzdesign was more focused on business modeling and stakeholder management, and Hopex was more focused on governance, risk and compliance, right? So these three had their own strengths and mostly weaknesses. So alone this tool was not sufficient at all, right? They would do one aspect of enterprise architecture, but rest of it was left out. What has happened is these three tools have merged, and now they run under the brand name of Bizzdesign, right? All the three tools have merged. So now you have modeling, you have strategic portfolio management, IT planning, all of these as a part of Alphabet. You have business modeling and stakeholder management as a part of Bizzdesign, which was already existing. And you have governance, risk and compliance. So all of these come together quite well. It's a unified roadmap now, and they are consistently innovating and getting more and more capabilities into the tool. It has a federated enterprise architecture repository for governance, risk and compliance, repository for SPM, which is software project management or application portfolio management, and so on and so forth, and a separate tool for enterprise architecture, standard enterprise architecture, TOGA framework, etc., etc. So this tool, after the merger, has become a force to reckon with, but it's not without its weaknesses either. The merger is quite recent, and they are still going through the integration process. So going from one repository into the other, because the repositories are still federated, and GRC doesn't align really well with enterprise architecture. So going from one repository to the other is a little bit of a navigation challenge. So they are working on that. As far as AI capabilities go, it has AI capability based stakeholder management. It has AI capability based predictive modeling. It has AI based dependency analysis. So once it gathers the data, AI can go crawl through the data and give you a dependency assessment of what is dependent on what and how everything will be impacted, and so on and so forth. And last but not the least, it has natural language processing. So you can query for information into the tool in normal English language, talk to it like you talk to ChatGPT or Copilot, and it will give you answers and responses and reports based on the data that it already has. So as you can see, these 5 tools, we looked at Orbusinfinity, we looked at LeanIX, we looked at Abacus, we looked at Ardoq, and we looked at Bizzdesign. All of these tools have some amount of artificial intelligence capabilities, right? AI is a big disruptor in the enterprise architecture tools space, because without artificial intelligence, earlier it used to be very, very difficult to gather information about the enterprise, and it used to be a big challenge. AI is going to be a disruptor because now natural language processing and all of this, and the capability to gather information from the enterprise. Look at Copilot. It's not even an enterprise architecture tool, and it gives you so much information already, right? Imagine if you had that capability integrated into an enterprise architecture tool with things such as predictive modeling. Now you could just tell the tool to do something and it will generate the models based on the information that it already has, and you have very limited things to do. Enterprise architects are not going to go away because of AI. Okay, enterprise architects may go away for other reasons, but not because of AI. And it is one of my endeavors to keep enterprise architecture alive, to be honest. And what are the reasons why enterprise architecture could potentially go away, we will cover in a different episode of Enterprise Architecture Radio. But today we'll only talk about AI and EA and tools, right? AI is not going to kill enterprise architecture. AI is going to enable enterprise architecture. So we as enterprise architects, or who are interested in enterprise architecture, should focus on how to leverage AI to do enterprise architecture. And tools play a very important role in this. Tool vendors should look into artificial intelligence, and I'm pretty sure all the good tools are already doing this. So that's enterprise architecture tools for you. I hope you have found it interesting. This episode has gone a bit too long, so I will not be doing the book review today. But I would like to remind you once again that if you're enjoying the videos, then let YouTube know, like, share, subscribe. And once again, Enterprise Architecture Radio is not just a podcast. It is a collaboration platform where we get together, we talk about challenges, we talk about business, we talk about technology, we talk about fun stuff that we do enjoy doing. We learn from each other, we guide each other, but most importantly, we have a ton of fun.